This is why farmers can't afford the tax. Let's have a look. So firstly, we were lied to. The government literally told us that they weren't going to make changes to agricultural poverty relief. Then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, ta-da, we've made changes, by the way, and they're massive, massive. So everything that you've been advised to do in the past for the last however many decades is actually going to massively negatively impact you right now. But it's fine. Ignore all of that. Don't worry. You haven't got time to sort it out. It's fine. The average age of a UK farmer, by the way, is 59 years old. And to put that into perspective, the average age of a doctor retiring is 59 years old. So the average age of farmers is when most doctors are retiring. But, you know, obviously we're at an increased risk of dying because of our age, but also it's an incredibly dangerous job. Also, a little fun fact, only 2% of British farmers are below the age of 35. Yeah. Proud to be in that minority. So not only did the government tell us that they weren't going to make these changes in the first place anyway, but the Treasury only told DEFRA, allegedly, the day before. The day before. DEFRA is part of the government. Since then, DEFRA and the NFU, which is the National Farmers Union, have been hounding the Treasury, trying to tell them that their figures are wrong. Basically, what has happened is the Treasury's gone, da-da-da, this is the amount of people that it's going to affect. It's only like 27%, and that be that. It's really not that bad. Don't worry about it. But then DEFRA and the NFU have gone, hold on a minute. No, your figures are completely wrong. Basically, if I made a video and I said that it's only women that have brown hair, you can't have a man with brown hair. No. And then you came to me and said, well, I'm a man and I've got brown hair. Here is my factual evidence. But I just completely blanked you. That's what the Treasury is doing right now. We can prove countless ways, countless times that the Treasury is using incorrect figures, but they are not listening. They know that they have messed up, but they're too proud to admit it. That, to me, personally, screams corruption. I don't know about you, but I'm just saying something's pretty fishy around there. If you came out with a massive statement and you ended up with 20,000 people protesting against you in London and they're farmers, you would probably want to be listening to the people that are trying to explain to you why they're protesting, right? Then, now we get arts and crafty. I've been using the whiteboard. So we've got two different options here. So on the left-hand side, we have a farmer-owned farm by Bob. And then on the right-hand side, we have Jerry, who is a landowner and rents one of his farms out to Doug. So as you can see, Bob's a third-generation farmer. He's got a son called Colin who's set to inherit the farm. So Colin is left with two options here. Colin can save up, but the problem with that is that Colin actually works on the farm, just like many children set to inherit the farm, and they work for very little money. Most of my friends that work on their family farms are earning between £300 and £500 a month, and that's just the norm, unfortunately, because they take a lower wage. In return, they are at some point going to have a business that they can inherit, and hopefully it will be in a better position than it is now, because currently farming is not paying that well, but it did used to. The problem with that is that Bob could die at any point. So Colin's dad could literally cark it tomorrow. It is a very dangerous job. In fact, I think it was like listed the most dangerous job in the UK. And that basically means that Colin doesn't have time to prepare for that. And chances are Bob is over 59 years old, because that's the average age of a farmer. Or Colin, when Bob does die, Colin could sell part or all of the farm / the stock on the farm. So if he sells the stock, then realistically, he's going to be contract rearing for big corporations. So then he sold all of his animals that is on the farm at the moment, and then he gets given / buys in farm animals from a big company. For example, Cranswick. They do almost all of the pork in the UK, pretty much. And it's all done on lots of smaller farms. Well, not all, but some of them are massive farms, but mainly done on smaller farms, but you have less control of your food chain. If you've got less control of your food chain, realistically, you are more likely to pay more for your food. Right, the other option, if he sells part or all of the farm, is that 50% or over 50% of the land bought last year was bought by non-farmers, which means less food, which means food prices increase. Or Colin could diversify part of the farm like 58% of other farmers. That then means he's producing less food. That then means the food prices increase. And before you say, well, it's okay because we can just import it, the same thing is happening all around the world. Right, tenant farmer over here. Jerry owns the farm. Well, he owns 5 different farms. He's a landowner. No idea how he made his money, but he's got money. Whether he worked hard for it or not, who knows? But chances are he probably did work hard for it, or he got really lucky. Jerry is not a villain, though. Don't panic. I know that there is this divide between rich and poor, but realistically, Jerry has 5 farms and he rents them out to 5 new entrants into farming, just like John and I. This is where we fall in. John and I may as well just be Doug at this point. So we rent one of the farms, and basically Beth is set to inherit the what's the word? Estate. Thank you, John. So Beth, Jerry's daughter, is set to inherit these 5 farms, and one of them will be Doug's farm that he rents. So Beth has a few options here. She can save up, just like Colin had to here, but Jerry could also die unexpectedly, and there is nothing to say that Beth has a lot of money. There is nothing to say that Beth owns a lot of money or earns a lot of money. Beth could be 15 years old. Yep. You heard it. So Beth may probably not be able to do that. Realistically, she's looking at a few £100,000 for her tax bill, maybe even well over £1 million for this new tax bill. So she's not realistically going to be able to save up that money without selling something. So chances are she's going to do something later on, but she could increase Doug's rent. But Doug can't afford it. And if Doug can't afford it, then realistically, he's going to be producing less food because he's going to stop farming, and then the food price is going to go up. And then we have, you can sell part or sell all of the farm, and then you'd have to pay Doug out of his tenancy, which is going to cost Beth even more money because he's got, I don't know, another 15 years left on his tenancy. So you've got to pay him out of that because he's farmed it with the anticipation that he's going to be there for the next 15 years. So everything that he's invested into that farm, he thought he was going to see a return on his investment. He's now not, because Beth's had to sell it to cover the cost of the inheritance tax bill that she has got because her dad died. So then once they've paid Doug out of his tenancy, she can then sell it, but then she has to pay capital gains on that, and then eventually she'll pay that inheritance tax bill. But a lot of that money has just gone. It's all just gone. Then what else she could do is just stop renting it to a farmer. It's not going to be the best way for Beth to earn her money back from having that farmland. So if she's going to keep it, and she does kind of manage to save up towards it enough so that she can pay it within the 10 years allowed, then basically at this point she could just decide that she's going to see a better return on her investment to prepare for the next generation taking over from Beth. So she could sell it for building, but we know that over 50% of land bought last year was bought by non-farmers. That's part of it. She could do industrial units. We could do solar, trees, and carbon offsetting is a massive one. That is an absolutely massive one, because this is big businesses so that they can sell you flights that are carbon neutral to Magaluf, and you go, oh, lovely, we don't even impact the environment. Yes, you do, because you're actually meaning less food is being produced, which means the food prices are going to go up. Yep, again. So land price is unlikely to fall, because I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, but if all of this happens, the price of land will fall because there's so much farmland becoming available. One, it's not all going to hit the market in the same time, so it won't really likely have much of an effect anyway. But even if it did have an effect, it won't have an effect because of all of these things. These things are what the value is based on. It's not based on agricultural property value, because it's not linked to how much money you can earn from farming, because the average farmer is getting a 0.5 to 1% return on their investment. You don't do farming to earn loads of money, because it's clear that that isn't the case. Farmers don't own farmland as a loophole. So why are we penalising farmers and the general public with their food prices? Because some people do. You cannot tax the rich like Jerry without affecting everybody below them. Jerry is the top of the food chain in this situation. Jerry probably did buy 5 farms as a loophole to avoid paying tax, but he's going to find another loophole anyway, realistically. So what was the point in bringing in the tax in the first place? Also, Beth is unlikely to want to invest in the farmland, neither is Jerry, because they don't want to increase the value of their asset, which means that they would have to pay more tax, so they're not going to invest into the farms, and they also won't want long-term tenancies, otherwise they're going to have to pay out more people like Doug. Right. This is not a simple situation. Agriculture is a very delicately balanced ecosystem, and if you take one bit out, the whole thing can crumble around it. And yes, we can adapt, but we can't adapt this fast.